What's up, everyone? This is DeagleBeagle. So today we're going to go over Thundurus, and there's a lot of different ways to run this. So I'm going to include a lot of ways to run the Prankster one, and then a few ways to run the Defiant one as well. So typically, what I found surprising was Eerie Impulse is used more than Thunderwave, because in the past, Thundurus would just be a Thunderwave spamming machine, and it was usually best with a lot of bulk. In fact, Ray Rizzo, I remember, made it extra bulky, and that really helped him out. I believe that was Worlds. So Thunderwave's just always been a good move, but it got nerfed to where it has 90 accuracy now. So I can see some of the hesitation in people using it. And there's been more Tailwinders since then, and Trick Rumors, Icy Wind, whatnot, so perhaps people think they can use it in other ways. And Eerie Impulse is a good move. So I'm just surprised that it's higher than Thunderwave, though. And Taunt makes sense with Prankster, even though I personally kind of don't like Prankster Taunt, because if they're Dark type or Terra Dark type, that's one way around it. So I've always preferred non-Prankster Taunt. That's why I don't really use Taunt with Murkrow. But you outspeeding them possibly could be better with Taunt. But overall, I think it should be more about consistency. So I would say no. And Wild Bolt Storm is a decent move with it, but it does miss 20% of the time on the specific target you want to hit. So if you really need to hit a specific target, maybe use Thunderbolt instead, or Thunder if rain is up. I wouldn't probably use Volt Switch. It's probably not worth a move on it. If you want to use Volt Switch, use probably Regieleki or some other Pokemon. But Thundurus, the default Terra probably should be Steel, because Electric just seems kind of stupid, because when are you ever going to Terra Electric? I suppose for a little bit more power, but Thundurus is not the type of Pokemon you would be using for extra power. That would be more like Thundurus T or Regieleki or whatever if you need more power. So I wouldn't use Terra Electric. I would probably use Steel. It is possible to use Ghost if you want to be immune to Fake Out, but I probably wouldn't waste that, because even if they do Fake Out, it's like, is it really worth Terra-ing, especially since almost all the Pokemon with Fake Out, it doesn't take that much damage from. Like, well, I guess Wild Charge from Iron Hands, but Rillaboom is more common and doesn't do much at all to Thundurus, so probably just use Covert Cloak instead of Terra Ghost if you really want to be immune to the Fake Out flinching. But, well, it depends. If you want to lead it, yeah, and not be Fake Outed, but they could just Fake Out the other Pokemon maybe. So I don't know. I would probably not give it any of that. Just don't. But it is an option. The most common one or useful one will probably be Citrus Berry, Well, these four are the Prankster ones. I'll show the Defiant one later. So Thunderwave probably should be standard. Eerie Impulse probably should be standard since it gets Prankster. Taunt is useful, but I don't think that's really that necessary. In fact, if you want to run Protect or Terra Blast Flying, then that would be okay. But Terra Blast Flying means it's still weak to ice, and it will take super effective damage from an electric move, rock move, ice move. So I probably wouldn't use flying just to have the coverage. If you need to counter a Moongus, maybe use taunt, even though it can Terra Dark. Or they can use Brute Bonnet with Spore. There are other options you can use, like Substitute versus that, and help set up on them if they want to protect or Spore or whatever. So there's not a lot of other options with this Pokemon that would be useful, because it would just be outclassed by like Thundurus T or something. But I'll show you other ones. So, by the way, you don't have to use my EVs. In fact, you might want to use more defense than special defense, because if you look at the top Pokemon, yeah, there's Fluttermane. And Tornadus, it resists. Yeah, but there's Urshifu, just gonna hit it hard. Chien-Pao, Dragonite. Cresselia doesn't hit hard. Ursaluna hits hard. There's Rockslide from Landorus. There is a Heat Wave, but it's not that powerful. Iron Hands and Rillaboom. You already wall Goldango pretty well, even though Shadow Ball is neutral to it. I mean, I would use both, a lot of special defense and defense. I would probably make it barely survive a few key things that you want to survive. Like, probably the most common things, like Fluttermane maybe on the special side. And then on the physical side, probably calc it to a wall, a Chien-Pao, Ice Spinner, and a Surging Strikes, possibly even a Terra Water Surging Strikes if you have Citrus. So, actually, we could calc that as we're waiting. Mental Herb is a good item with it, because with Thundurus, I think the default one should be not a lot of special attack, not a lot of speed, because you're primarily just trying to spam prankster moves like Thunder Wave or Eerie Impulse and slow them down, try to parahax them, lower their offense, and Mental Herb allows it to compete with Thundurus, Tornadus, even though I don't think you really need to worry about taunt that much, because if they taunt, or you think they could taunt you, then you can Wild Bolt Storm. So I don't think I would use Mental Herb. I would probably just use Citrus. Wide Lens would be probably the second best option that I would pick, because Thunder Wave can miss 10% of the time, but with Wide Lens it's only 1%. And then Wild Bolt Storm actually might be barely accurate enough to use, even though 88% or even 90% is not that accurate for me. But maybe it's fine. Wide Lens, and you hit them more. So nothing wrong with that. And Covert Cloak, if you really need to avoid being fake outed, but you probably don't. What were we going to calc? Fluttermane. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, it's Timid Max. Choice Specs. Timid Max Special Attack. And Terra Fairy. Wait, why is the default Terra Grass? Yeah, some of these calculators aren't perfect. So Thundurus. Yeah, and by the way, you can use like Bold or Calm or not. Yeah, Calm, I guess, because it lowers attack. So if you need more bulk instead of putting it in special attack, maybe that's the better option, because Thundurus rarely attacks. It usually is just a supporting Pokemon that spams supporting moves. But you could make it... Dang, that would actually need a decent amount of special defense to wall that. Is it worth it? I don't know. You would have to have, like... Well, hold on. It's more efficient to use Calm. Yeah, I don't think it's quite worth trying to wall that, because you would need, like, just a ton of... Well, maybe if you don't need more defense, but you probably do. I don't know. It might be barely worth it, but do you survive a Qian Pao? I don't think so. So let's count Qian Pao. No. Oh, maybe even max defense won't wall it. Let's see. It usually does, even though there has been some adamant Qian Pao. Let's see how much it says there is. Adamant is not the most common, but it is probably on about 29% of them. So, according to the Switch, for Showdown, it would be similar. Probably about the same. Yeah, so at least you wall the Jolly one. So, personally, I would probably go for it. Just max the defense. So, that would just be really useful if you could. Even though, on the other hand, maybe you could just not bring Thundurus versus Qian Pao. But there's so much Qian Pao that it's like, I don't know about that strategy. Also, it has Eerie Impulse, so you probably don't need a bunch of special defense. If you see a Fluttermane, you could just Eerie Impulse it, and you would wall it. So, I think raising special defense is not that useful if you're using Eerie Impulse, or even if you're not, because you probably want to survive Qian Pao, and then, oh yeah, let's calc Urshifu. No, Urshifu Rapid Strike. Alright. Even if it's Mystic Water, you still survive. Oh, that's because of Citrus? No, I think even if you take off the Citrus, it survives. Yeah, so even without Citrus, it survives. That's Mystic Water Jolly. If it's Mystic Water Adamant, you probably almost always still survive. So yeah, this seems like a really good, like, Thundurus. So I recommend max HP, max defense. But then let's also go to Thundurus with the Defiant ability. I'll do the Terra later. So, if you're using Defiant, you probably want 2 attacking moves. So, you could use Terra Blast, or you could use Acrobatics and hope they whittle you down to your lower HP. And you could either... I probably wouldn't use Sash because you have Wild Charge. I would probably use Citrus. And as I said, Terra Blast is an option over Acrobatics, but then you have to Terra for it. To really take advantage of Defiant, you probably would want a flying move. or at least some other attacking move besides Wild Charge. So, some other Terra Blast typing, or whatever. Something, Brick Break, whatever people used to use with it. And then, I think, what was I using with it? I think I was using like Protect, maybe, and either Thunder Wave or Taunt or whatever. So Protect, wait, it got rid of it. I think I was using Substitute, but then I forgot the stupid thing was Substitute. I forgot, but it messed up. I almost want to say it messed up like the order of something, or oh no, I remember. If you substitute and they bring in their Intimidator, it doesn't activate your Defiant, and you don't get a boost. So this guy switched in Arcanine. So yeah, I don't think I recommend Substitute on a Defiant Pokemon for that reason, or a competitive Pokemon, because their Intimidator won't activate it, and they'll just be able to bring it in. That was so stupid to me. Okay, you could use Brick Break, or you could use Taunt, or whatever. So, let's look really quick. I wouldn't use Hammer Arm, it could miss and lower speed. People, I think, used to use Fly with, like, Dynamax or something, but can't do that anymore. U-Turn is actually an option, too. That's pretty interesting, actually. U-Turn. Yeah, that would be a good way to beat Spore, or Taunt, or whatever. So, I don't know if U-Turn should be the standard. I think this slot really depends on whatever your team is weak to. Or what your team is. So U-Turn, or if you're weak to like screens, maybe use Brick Break. And Brick Break would give a good coverage overall too, like versus, well, Tyranitar or whatever. King Ambit, anything that's fighting weak. Heat Ran does a little bit more than Wild Charge. So, you would probably want actually a lot of attack and speed with it. People used to try to get like max airstream boost. You probably want it to outspeed most things. So, probably should give it Jolly. Let me see. So 179 speed. Yeah, because you could outspeed Tornadus. But even ignoring the speed tie issue, there's just a lot of Pokemon that you could outspeed. There's not a lot of common, well, on that list there's not a lot of common ones. Maybe Zoroark, and I don't think there's going to be a ton of slow Talonflame, but a little bit. And then you do outspeed Dondozo, which is good, even if it's max speed neutral nature. And outspeeding Enamorus isn't used that much, but that's useful. Outspeeding Adamant Roaring Moon and Garchomp, Thundurus T, Landorus. And Terra Blast, I think Ice is an option versus like ground Pokemon. And yeah, actually that would be pretty good because Landorus is the most common Intimidator right now. Let's check Picolytics to see if that's actually correct or not. sure it is. So going by the usage, yeah, Landorus T is the most common Intimidator, probably followed by Arcanine. Let's see. Wow, I haven't even seen Arcanine yet. Is there another Intimidator that I missed? Intimidate's going to be the main way you activate Defiant. There's also Snarl and whatnot, but mostly Intimidate. Oh yeah, Arcanine Hisui, or Hisui, I mean, is probably going to be the second most common Intimidator, and then Gyarados, whatever. So, Gyarados it beats, versus Arcanine. By the way, this Pokemon would be designed to counter Intimidate, so you probably would want to make it counter Intimidate. And then Arcanine takes neutral from Wild Charge. If you use like something else to kill it, like Terra Ground or Terra Water, I guess you could use Terra Water with Thundurus, and that would cover Arcanine and Thundurus. But they could just defensively Terra with Arcanine. So you could, but Ice would do more damage to Landorus and work even if they Terra Flying, which is pretty common. So I'd probably recommend Ice over Water, but if you're really like worried about Arcanine Hisui form, then maybe Terra Water's fine. And it's decent defensively too. So you would probably want to make it Jolly though. You could make it Adamant, but if you make it Adamant, you're outsped by... No, you don't want to be outsped by Urshifu. And that Pokemon's so common, like the number, what, 2? Yeah. Urshifu's just way too common. So, I would definitely recommend outspeeding Urshifu. And probably just, let me see, you might want to just max the speed. Because you speed tie with Tornadus. Maybe just max the speed for now. But if you really need to pull some out, make it like 164 stat to just outspeed Urshifu. But even then, you probably want to make it outspeed like Chi-Yu and stuff. So, probably give it... If you're using Terra Ice, probably make it outspeed Garchomp like 170 speed minimum. But for now, I'm just going to show this. And 4 in HP. As far as the item goes, if you're using Acrobatics, you probably want Citrus, or you wouldn't want Sash with it because of Wild Charge. I'm trying to think of other items that activate quickly besides Citrus or Sash. The Pinch Berries don't activate as quick or consistently, so probably not that. I don't think Life Orb means you lose item. Yeah, so no, it doesn't. So let's look up single-use items. All the berries. So the gems, yeah, those aren't relevant anymore. Absorbable and all those. Mental Herb. Okay, Mental Herb wouldn't be useful though. Destiny Knots, not useful. I think that prevents infatuation. Air Balloon, no. Status or healing, very... Okay, yeah, that's probably most of them. Sky drop. No. Wait, does it even get sky? I got, I was thinking sky text. I don't think it gets sky drop anymore. No. Let's just look at the items really quick to see what else might activate. Ignoring the berries because citrus would activate before any of them. Weakness policy, maybe, but it's not going to be super effective probably most of the time. I think white herb wouldn't work with Defiant to get a double boost. Let's look that up on Bulbapedia. But if it was, then a lot of people would have used it. So if the Pokemon with Definer Competitive is holding a white herb, Definer Competitive will trigger before the white herb. Yeah, like I remember. So white herb cannot activate. Resist berries would work. Like Yache berry would be decent on a Thundurus, and then you have acrobatics, but citrus berry is probably the best in general because they don't have to have a specific move to activate it. They could use any move, whittle you down. But if they're smart though, and they don't want to be hit hard by a flying move, they might just not damage Thundurus past the citrus berry, like past 50%, like make it so it doesn't get to 50% HP or less, so that its citrus doesn't activate and then it's stuck with a weaker flying move. So that is a big drawback of acrobatics. But the benefit would be that you don't have to use a Terra to use a flying move. You do have a 55 power move minimum, no matter what they do. And it has the potential to have 110 power without any recoil. So that's pretty good. You could actually use Grassy Seed with Thundurus or some sort of seed to activate it. Mirror Herb, but that's not going to consistently activate. So yeah, I just remember even with Citrus, Acrobatics wouldn't activate enough. So I mean, you could use Terra Blast, but then it's like, are you really going to Terra Blast though? Maybe actually, since it has Defiant with a boost, but they might not even bring their Intimidator if you have Thundurus. So let's see what it has. Wonder policy. No, that's only if it misses. I think Adrenaline Orb. I don't know if that would combine with Define or not. We should check that. Adrenaline Orb. Okay. That's the last thing we probably need to check. I'm kind of tired. It's like 1:47 in the morning. So, Adrenaline Orb. Let's see where it talks about Defiant. I guess it talks about Contrary. Let's look at that. So if the holder is affected by Intimidate, it raises the speed 1 stage. If it is not consumed by the holder, it is not consumed if the holder already has max speed. Stat raises unless its ability is contrary. In that case, it won't activate because they'll have -6 speed. Okay. It is activated even if the holder is not affected by Intimidate due to its ability. But will not activate if the holder is not affected because it already had. Yeah, why do they even? That seems obvious to me. You can't go beyond +6, minus or positive. And it doesn't say anything about like Defiant, so we don't really know. Unless I'm trying to remember, I am pretty dang sure though someone used it with Braviary before, and they got the Adrenaline Orb and the Defiant boost, but I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure you get the boost. However, that's kind of putting all your eggs in one basket to counter like Intimidate, and if they don't have Intimidate, then Adrenaline Orb is kind of useless. And do you really need the speed increase? Usually not, because you're usually fast enough to outspeed almost anything. So I would probably do that. Lum is another option, but you're not gonna probably get put to sleep that often, and especially if they know you have acrobatics in the open team sheet. So these are probably the main ways to use it. Citrus is overall on like pretty much all the Thunduruses. Even if you're not using acrobatics, I'd probably use that. So thanks for watching.